responsibility that when you put it forth, or were you kind of expecting that they would be like, actually, we didn't say that?
That's exactly what we were expecting. And the reason that we didn't do a modest proposal there, the reason we didn't try to exaggerate their existing policy and state it, was because we had this opportunity on live television, which meant that if we announced if we announced this kind of thing that we wanted to see them do, then they were going to have to refute it. It made a condition whereby they had to speak. The announcement that they were going to clean up the mess caused their stock to lose $3 billion in 45 minutes. And so they have to respond to that. They can't, they can't just let the stock keep going down and say, oh, I don't know, maybe, Whereas if we had just said, let's say we come up with some kind of horrible technology for, I don't know, using the victims of the site for something, for fuel. I don't know what they would come up with for that. But they wouldn't have had to say anything. Dow would just remain silent and the story would go away, and it's already in keeping with their current policy there. So they didn't have to refute anything. It wouldn't make their stock go down. So that's, yeah, it was, and that's a difference, a major difference there is that event was carried on live television. If it's in like a little conference setting, we feel like we don't need to make that kind of honest proposal because it's just for this small audience of people and we'll do whatever's the most fun. And it seems like it's the best story for later, for the media. And a great prop goes a long way for telling a story later. Probably our most successful events like that, where either that one or this thing where we had an inflatable golden phallus that the WTO was presenting at a conference. And the premise of it was that this employee visualization appendage was a way for managers in the developed world to watch their workers and administer electric shocks when they weren't working fast enough. It was like a hands-free, kind of hit-mounted device that simply gave people more flexibility in the way that they do their global work. So, but for those two things, it was a fairly closed event. There wasn't a lot of media presence that would carry the story and necessarily elicit a response from the company that we were attacking. Yeah.
So you said that you did the Dow thing at the behest of VPs, that they contacted you first about it, or?
Yeah. Well, they had contacted us a few years before that, and there was a group of people who were part of Greenpeace who were interested in doing this sort of web mirroring types of games that we've been doing before, creating fake websites for a company. And in the late 90s, all you needed was a fake website to create a media story. I mean, that's not a story anymore. It's, at that time when the web was new, it was. And so we were doing this sort of cat and mouse game with some companies that way, and it was getting a lot of press. And they asked us to do that for Dow, because they were just starting that campaign at the time to try to raise awareness that Dow had taken over Union Carbide. And it evolved into this. But it was an informal relationship. It was the type of thing where they said, we really want to do this, but we can't do this. We can't have anything to do with it. And there were, yeah.
So then you set up the website and then BBC contacted you for the website?
Yeah, 2 years later. I mean, we had set up the website and there was initially a story about them. The website just stayed there and on the web as they do. And the BBC, to their credit, were trying really hard to get somebody from Dow to speak. And so they had, they were hammering them with phone calls, they were emailing them. And really it was just their hope that somebody would actually speak from Dow on the anniversary of the disaster that manifested in this event. It's a very, very simple mistake, not a systemic mistake. And there's a lot of much more grave errors that the media has made, including the BBC, like reporting, exactly what Tony Blair said about the weapons of mass destruction. Same thing, the same error the New York Times and most other major newspapers made here. Instead of actually listening to what the weapons inspectors said, they listened to what the leaders of the country said, which was basically fabrications. So, yeah.